Praise the Lord, everyone. This is Evangelist Walesa Norris, and I'm coming to you guys with my message of today. And my message of today is do not despise small beginnings. So many times, right, God start us off small when He has a calling on our life, or He knows that He had put gifts in us and different things in us that we can do and we can accomplish. But He has to train us up, right? Whether that's in our emotional state to know that to build up our confidence, right? Whether that's in the job, certain things you can't do unless you have experience, and sometimes it can get tiring and it can be repetitious, right? And you feel like no changes is happening. Well, we do know somebody who understands exactly what we go through when we are starting small, right? But it's only for God to build us up and take us to the level or the calling or the place that He has called us to do, whether that's a caregiver, whether that's in whatever career field He had called you in, whether that's a parent, right? We do know David went through this same process, right? And it took him 15 years for God's promise to come to pass in his life, but he had to perfect his promise, right? We do know he was out there in the field, in the sheep, in the shepherd's field, taking care of the sheep. But as God trained him, and every few years, right, God was send like a dangerous animal to try to attack him and his sheep. And with his faith in God, with his confidence in himself being built up, right, he believed that he can defeat the lion and the bear, right? So every few years, God would send a dangerous animal while he was out there in the shepherd's field. When nobody believed in him, right? His own family talked about him. They thought they were the man or the next woman of God that God had called. But God called David when he was young, right? But he had to train for the big hooray, right? Which was defeating Goliath. And because David had the heart after God anyway, even as a child, right? He knew that wherever God placed me, right, wherever God put me, right, I'm coming to be a helping hand, a hindrance, and not a curse or to try to cause confusion or things of that nature. He just applied. He didn't care who looked down on him. He really didn't care about the title, right? So when Samuel came to anoint David, all his family and friends, right, they stood up and they was high military people in the army just doing different things, right? They just surely thought it was them, right? We know that Noah went through the same exact thing. We know that professionals built the Titanic, right? And they said that it would not sink, but what happened? It sank. When Noah was called by God because he had faith in God, he believed the Lord, he served the Lord, he knew God was getting ready to bring wrath on the earth, and God told him to build the ark. He didn't know how to do it. He had to perfect his craft, and it took him a while to build the ark. But Lord and behold, right, it was built, and it was built to perfection, and he saved himself and his family off of the wisdom of God. So sometimes when God put us in situations or start us off small in just different fields, career fields, even parenting, right, it has to be repeated over and over again until we can become the expert in that field or in that category that God has called us to. So don't get weary, right, in your faith, or think nothing is happening for you or you don't have supporters. David, Noah, and a few other people had to go through certain experiences like that, right? But God's promise surely came to pass as they continue to perfect their craft, as they continue to work on being a kind person, as they worked on their emotional state, right? Not caring if people rejected them, talked about them, didn't believe in them. They believed God, and God built up their confidence while they was perfecting their craft to believe in themselves. And slowly but surely, it surely came to pass. So do not despise